Welcome, everybody, to True Confessions of a Car Guy. Welcome to our latest episode. In studio with me is our host, John. John, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good, Bagi. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, We got a big event coming next week, and that's the NADA event in Las Vegas. And that's a place where all car guys and girls and dealerships and groups gather to exchange strategies, to exchange new ideas, talk about some things in the car business. But I think as we were discussing, sometimes maybe they're missing the boat really when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of what makes an effective car dealership run and to be profitable. And that's kind of like what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, first off, NADA. I know it's an event that everybody looks forward to, but if you're planning your products for your store and you're going to get all the stuff you're going to do for the year from NADA from that week, and you're probably going to be behind the eight ball most of the time because what they're selling is the latest and greatest. But in today's world, AI is changing so fast that here, when I was a PM for V Auto, we would have, the whole floor or whatever it was, Cox selling products. And I'd get back they'd get back because I didn't go as a PM, but I went as a dealer before and as a GM. But when they get back, all of a sudden I got all these products I got to turn on, right? They buy Conquest, the new car tool. They buy Stockwave, the buying tool, all these tools. And they sell them all because they're all the dealers and the sale managers and GMs get all excited and sold on it. And then they add it, we turn it all on. And I can't tell you how many times that by the time I talk to the dealer, because weeks go by, sometimes 30 days before you really install the tool, that they already got cold on it. They're like, you know what? The guy sold me, or they'll even say, I never signed that. I never asked for it. So if you're just going to NADA and that's going to be your end all be all, what your game plan is, I think you're making a big mistake. Because I think there's I still have a lot of access to everything in the car industry. I still work part-time. A lot of people know that, but a lot don't. I think the most important thing going forward is going to be average investment. How much you own your cars for as an average investment. MSRP has gone up to over $50,000 for the first time in the history. So you already have dealer confidence slipping. They already had Automotive News came out last issue and said, dealer confidence for fourth quarter is down. That compared to third quarter, it's just kind of they're just not as excited about it. Well, here you got MSRPs going up, and people can't afford the car. So what I did was I ran as close as I could be, and I'm pretty sure that I'm within 1% either way, and I ran within 100 miles, let's say, from a car dealership that, let's say, they were based at O'Hare Airport. Okay, that's where they're at. Take 100 mile circumference, and I looked at the sales for the last 60 days. Because we're seasonal in the Midwest. I'm out in South Carolina, by the way. I got 7 inches of snow today. So, yeah, South Carolina got hit by snow. 7 inches since 4 this morning. I think it's just slowing down right now. So, but anyhow, we're seasonal. We got January, December, January, February is like a season for us. Then we got March, April, May is where we start to really get going. We're starting off. And then we got June, July, and August where we kick ass. And then September comes to a raging halt because of school starting. And they kind of fucked us on that because school used to start after Labor Day forever. Now schools start August 15th, August 8th, August 20th. They start in August. So now the car industry has gotten hurt by school starting August and September. So that's kind of rolled over. Tough to do business in August. So anyhow, we got these 4 really quarters of 3-month periods that we do business. And for every one of those, we have different inventories. So what I mean by that is I'm not stocking or buying any Corvettes or any sports cars in August, late August, because I don't want them September, October, November, December. Because first of all, when I was a BMW dealer, before they had the X Drive, I had a 6. Let's say I sold you a 6 Series. You couldn't leave your driveway in the winter. The car sat there because it couldn't go anywhere. It would just spin wheels. So you're not buying any of them, let's say, going to December. So we plan our inventories. But the one thing that doesn't change is the average investment, how much we own these cars for. So what I did was I ran sale prices 0 to 10,000. And then I went up by $3,000 increments all the way up to 35 grand. Within 100 miles here, I even got almost the volume of how many were sold and the percentage of that market. So for cars 0 to 10,000, that was 7% of the sales in the last 2 months, or about 4,500 cars. Now, I'm going to get into some stuff. That's why this podcast, for people who are not in the car business, they may not understand what I'm saying, but they'll learn something. And people in the car business who don't know what I'm talking about ought to learn this because it's very important. So there's a market day supply and a dealer day supply, how fast the car sells in our market. Our market, everybody's got a tool. I should say everybody, but I would say 70% of dealers, maybe at least 60, have V-Auto, from Cox, which helps you appraise, merchandise, buy, anything you need to do for a car that helps you with it. But anyhow, so the market day supply of cars between 0 and 10 is only 64 days. That's how fast those cars were selling. So basically 2 months. To put that in perspective, if you go online right now to buy cars at an auction, most cars that are available are about a 60 to 90 day market day supply or worse. They take even longer. But now it's going to get into what I'm really talking about. So if I'm a dealer and my guys are stocking cars, now they should be buying trucks for winter, sports for summer, et cetera, et cetera. But with cars being at 50,000, we need to make sure that we have stuff affordable. So cars from 10 to 13,000 was 8% of the market. In other words, like 4,900 cars. And those were 69-day market day supplies. So already we're going up a few days that we got this car in the lot. And for a dealer, if you don't own your cars, you floor plan them. In other words, you get a loan from a bank, just like everybody else does for their car, and you pay juice on it, interest. So we didn't have for a long time. So some guys in the car business didn't even know what floor plan was until recently. But $13,000 to $16,000 cars was about 8% of the market. 72-day market day supply. So they're going up as the car gets more expensive, takes longer to sell. So 16 and 19 was 10% of the sales, or 83 days to sell. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit here and go to 22 to $25,000 cars. That's 11%. 19 to 22 was 11%. 16 to 19 was 10%. But they went up from 83 to 84 and 85 market day supplies. Great. So 35 cars over 35,000 were 21% of the sales. It's a big number, right? That's pretty good. That's higher than everyone I just mentioned. But the average market day supply of those was 97 days. So that means I had a 40G car on my lot for almost 100 days, and I'm paying juice on it. Where if I had, let's say, 40G car, I had two 20G cars. Those cars were selling faster, not much faster, but 10 days faster. So I'm moving 2 units instead of 1. So I think it's more important that car dealers start to look at that average investment. And I think if you're over 25,000 or in today's market, you're going to be missing the boat. You're going to be in trouble. You're not going to have enough volume. You're going to, you won't have the turn. I look at a car dealer like this. I got 50 spots. Each spot is worth X amount of dollars to me, used car spot. I like to turn each spot twice a month if I could. That's not easy, but you got to be really good at what you're doing and pay real attention, close attention. So I think dealers are missing that boat. They're cars at the auction are really expensive cars. Think about why they're there. Dealers aren't sending any of their trades anymore. Very rarely are they taking trades, send the auction. They're trying to turn every car into a retail because there's nothing available. What is available is 30,000 above normally, unless you buy a car from, let's say, Hertz or Enterprise or something like that. And then you can get a $16,000 to $20,000 car, but you're going to get one that's got like a 90-day market day supply. Everybody's got one. You can't make no money. It's just a car to sell it, and hopefully your finance hero makes you some dough, and you turn that spot twice, but you're not going to make that front end gross. We averaged, $2,000 a car front end for 2,200 front and back for so long. Then we got the COVID and it went to 5, 6. Lexus was doing ridiculous numbers. Now we're kind of going back to normal. So we need to make sure that we're looking at how much we're paying for cars and making sure we can put them in a spot that people can afford them. So if you buy cars between 10 and 25,000 that you can not buy, but sell online for, and this is not easy. There's a lot of work. This is a real hard job to find a guy to find that car, but I'm going to get to why you can do it. But that's 48% of the sales in the last 60 days. So almost 50% of all the cars sold were between $10,000 and $25,000, or 30,000 cars. It's a lot of cars within the 100-mile circle of Chicagoland that were between 10 and 25,000. Now, as a PM, I would go. I had 100 plus dealers I'm talking to. Most of the time, they're only taking in trades at about a 35 to 40% clip. And that to me is not acceptable anymore. Today, you got to be taking in look to book, they call it, your LTB, look to book, which is how many you praise, how many you take in, the percentage. If you want to succeed in this business, and I'm talking to used car managers right now, GMs, anybody at the desk, you got to be closing 60% or better of those customers, because that's where you get those $10,000 to $25,000 cars. So you're making 1, 2, 3 deals. And if you're closing only 35, 38, or even under 50, that means you got a lost trade report. A car's going somewhere else. This is all stuff you can find via auto, tell you how you're doing, how good, how bad. But it's real important that you max. You can never lose a trade today. You should never lose one. Whatever it takes to make that deal. Now, I'm not saying buy a deal, but what I am saying is don't ever lose a deal, because as soon as it goes somewhere else, there's no more loyalty to you as a customer. That really doesn't happen like it used to. Used to be, hey, my dad bought a Ford, his dad bought a Ford, his dad bought a Ford, and so on. Now the degrees of separation of those vehicles are so close together. I mean, Hyundai just overtook somebody. They're like number 4 or something. And remember, Hyundai, people were like, this car blows up. It's a piece of shit when it first came out. Now it's one of the best cars on the road, number 4, I think. So the customer, when they're trading in your car, they're not only just looking at other, let's say, Chevy dealers or Ford dealers that you are, they're looking at other makes. So you're comparing yourself to Hyundai. And the problem with that is a Toyota or a Honda guy can pay less for a trade, same customer, than, let's say, a Buick GMC guy or a Hyundai Kia guy even. Subaru, Toyota, Honda, the customer's going to take less for their trade because they know that car is the car. It's the right car. Can't go wrong. They got that. They've got that reputation. Where if you're going to push a guy who's on a Toyota Corolla or Camry into a Buick or a Chevy or a Hyundai, you're going to end up paying more for that trade-in to get him. So we got to work that much harder. Point being is, if I'm the boss, I'm looking at these deals. I'm looking at my, and you should call your performance manager if you don't have somebody who knows what I'm telling you right now is what to look for. But I'm looking at my appraisers to be closing 50+% of the cars they look at legitimately. I know there's some stores don't even, they call it at V-Auto, it's complete or finalized, I think it's called. You can change, you can name whatever you want. But most dealers, they're not even finalizing their appraisals. So you need to do that to have the metrics to figure out where you're at. If you don't do that, all this money you spend on a tool, it's not able to tell you those facts. You're just winging it. You're just using the tool. It's like, having a hammer and you're a carpenter and all you're using is the claw end, because there's so much more to use with this tool that if you use it, you can really dial in your inventory, your appraising practices. I mean, there's best practices out there on that dealers should be following as far as appraising a car. And it gets back to something you and I were talking about. It's how we take care of that customer at the beginning of the process. AI is great. It's going to help us. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be in every dealer at some capacity. But it's still pretty easy. It hasn't changed since when I sold cars in 1982, 83 to 2023. You still got to make a friend and you still got to let them pick the car. The rest today kind of falls in place because they already got the price. That's the only thing that I used to tell my anybody who worked with me is real simple. I pay a third-party vendor a ton of money to make sure that I do a job which is present the best price out there. And you got a job to do as a consumer is to go out and find that best price. And guess what? We're both talking to each other, so we both did our jobs. Now let's work on, you like my tire, you don't like my tire. You love the car, you love the price so far. Is it me? Do I got to get somebody else? What does it take? Because they got the numbers and they got the car now. When I sold cars, we're walking around like two jerk-offs kicking tires for a while, figuring out, do you want a wagon? Do you want a van? Hell, today, Chevy, I don't even think has cars anymore. So it's so much easier for salespeople in the sense, it's still a very hard job, don't get me wrong, but the customer comes in and they're so loaded with information, use it to your advantage, and then managers make sure you know the information that's being given to you. It's all accessible, so you know how to help your people get better. That's all. I mean, I think going forward, every dealer, Cox is a really big company and great. I think it's the best place I ever worked in my life. Great people and great tools, but there's still the need to have somebody who knows all these tools in-house. Some of these groups, you got one store, probably not so much, but you should have somebody come in who's an outside view, looking and look at what's going on. And they got consultants everywhere, but I don't know how many of them talk about the actual data and the transactional discount. How much you discount every car? Because that's another thing we're looking over as car dealers. How much are we discounting every car? Are we doing $500-700 a car? Well, it's a fact that whoever has the lowest transactional discount makes the most gross. Because you're not, of course, discounting money, so you're keeping it, but your customer's happier too. So you're priced on the money, right? They come in, they know you're on the money. There's really not a big negotiation. I mean, we used to try to get it to where we were under $200. You remember when you worked with me, we were at $115, and we'd have to give away more dinners to make deals just so we give them something. because we were priced so right. And the tools give you the ability to show the customer you are. I mean, they have everything in V-Auto and even the new tools that are out there, which I have some friends who work for them. I don't know the tools as well, so I'm not going to say what they're called. But all these tools that you pay for, they're only as good as the guys using them and girls using them, for one. So you got good people, you make sure they get trained up, you take care of them, because I don't care how great AI is. Over the weekend, I happened to get involved in something, and I just called a couple people myself. And I got to be honest, one of the guys I talked to, Felipe, I'm going to say his first name, he was looking to do something in the car industry. And I've been talking to Felipe for about 2 days. And I think if I was still selling cars and I had the brand he wants, I would have won over a customer just from customer service, because it's still so important. I know you get that, Bagi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I was going to say it just happened yesterday. I was going to use it as an example. You know, sometimes you get caught up with all technology when it's really basic and simple. I had a call, I work right outside Chicago, and we had a call from Seattle, Washington, because it's a unique color combination. It's a used car too, not new. It's a used car, unique color combination. There's only a couple in the whole country. And the guy called me, husband and wife, on a speakerphone. They were so disappointed. Not in me, they don't know me yet. They will. They got to know me. But they go, this process, they said, this process is so difficult. Why do people got to make it difficult? And I said, I apologize for the industry. I said, look, I'm sorry you have to go through this as consumers, but you know what? I promise to give you the best I can. And simple things. The car they wanted, the one dealer says, we don't sell cars out of state.
Well, I can see that because, since I moved to South Carolina, I've done 4 or 5 cars now since I've been here. And it is a real hassle for the dealer in the sense that they got to figure out the taxes. Now, when I worked with Perillo BMW, we had a company, and I think most people use them. It's big now. So I could see somebody saying that, because think about the calls, though, that you get, Bagi, that are just pranksters or just looky-loos. So I get it in one sense, but at the end of the day, go on with the story.
No, I was going to say, they're sincere. I mean, you can tell. I can.
Yeah, exactly.
They were sincere buyers. So I said, no, we'll go ahead and we can go ahead. And they said, the guy's an engineer, and he's like, look, I know sometimes the heated seats can sometimes fail. I want there to be a test done to the heated seats so I can physically see that they work. And he's like, nobody wants to do that either. I said, well, okay, we'll figure it out. And he even said how to do it. He's like, he's actually an engineer himself. So he's like, all you got to do is this, this, and this. So I said, no problem. Long story short, I assured them we're going to do everything we can to help them buy the car. They had no problem with the price. They said it was priced great. It's everything they looked for. It was a local, like you were saying earlier, it was a local trade-in for a brand new car, 3 years old, low miles, really nicely taken care of. And so we did that for them, nice and simple. And, today he was in the bank wiring the money, and it's going to ship out Monday or Tuesday. Just the basics of basic customer service, basic taking care of people. And, when people are calling you and emailing you, that's like the lifeblood right now, because your whole showroom's online, not just people walking in the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
And since I'm on it, I just want to add one more thing since I'm on a roll here. Another thing I heard this week, the one guy's like, oh, you actually called me back. I go, why wouldn't someone call people? I go, why wouldn't you?
That's AI for you right now. Unfortunately, a lot of dealers are using AI to converse with the customer. And at a certain point, and we just had Lane on, and I don't know if you tried calling his stores. Yeah. I mean, you actually think you're talking to somebody for a while, but at a certain point, the BDC people have to step in and take over, because, like he said, where his place, the stores that he has, they actually tell you it's an AI that you're talking
Well,
to. So
yeah,
but
you're right.
I can see people get, because that's what happened with the ones I called, is they were like, it was an AI tool and they wanted to know something specific. And it's back to the basics. Car dealers just got to do what you've been doing for your whole lives, which is make a friend, pick out a car. The rest falls into play. I know we're trying to save some dough because it's getting harder and harder to make money. I'm not crying a river for car dealers because I don't really know any poor ones. But at the same time, we're under a microscope for everything we do at the same time. So it's like we're not allowed to make any money. So because we're car dealers, I don't understand that. But again, we kind of got off subject. So for people, let's just back up a little bit. What I was talking about was your average investment. Dealers really got to get that under control and make sure that they're staying under that 25, 26,000. The best stores that I've ever seen succeed are under 22,000, because especially with when rates were up last couple of years, they can afford the payment. That's 50% of the people. It used to be 70% of those. When I was a PM, 70% of the sales were between 25 and 10. It was actually 22,000 and 10,000. It might have been 7,500. But because MSRPs have grown and so has cost of cars and everything, so that's moving along with it. But what isn't moving is it still takes longer to sell a car that's more expensive than it does one that's less expensive because of the masses. You have a lot more people who can afford cars under 25 grand than people who can afford cars over 50 grand, So that they just got to keep their eyes on that. They got to, appraise better. They got to learn to, customers come in and they're able to get a bunch of numbers on their car before they come in. How's it been working for the last 30, 40? I was just updating. I've been in the car business over 40 years. We used to hold back on a trade. We tell them it's 5,000 and it's really 10 or 7. We didn't even know as a salesman when I started what was being put in the car. We had no idea. Management never told you. They just gave you a what we call a 4-square, which came out of Texas, I think, which was
Texas Bentier. That was like you were talking about.
Bentier, yeah. So you had a 4-square, and up top left was the price. Then I think was payment, then down payment, and then term. So it would say 20,000, let's say 10,000. They put some crazy amount down. 10,000 down. They put some crazy term, 84 months, and they put a crazy payment of 600. So now you guys looks at it, it's just 20,000 with 10,000 down for 84 months. I'm 700, and you'd either get that comes out to the 100 grand for a $25,000 car, or you'd get, well, I don't have 10 grand. How much is it if I put down 2 grand? And that's how they work a deal. Or if there was a trade, it would be the trade amount and then down payment, et cetera, et cetera. So point of this story is customers can get a price on a trade so easy today. I could go online right now and pull up, give a VIN number to almost any store in the country. Some will give me a number instantly. Some will get it to me in an hour, some tomorrow. KBB, Kelly Blue Book, another Cox company. I can go and get a number from them instantly. Carvana, CarMax, instantly. So when a customer's got a trade with you, they pretty much know what their car's worth. And if you don't give them a number that's pretty close, you lost all credibility before you even started. I mean, if we try to hold back too much or anything, I don't believe in holding back. I would like to do volume. I'm busy. I got to do, 200 used cars, 100 used cars. I'm not a guy. I'm not happy doing no volume. So times more valuable to me beating up me and a customer going back and forth, circle jerking each other. I'm going to tell him the facts. This is what it is. And if he did his homework, which most of them, it used to be they spent, now I think it's down to 7.5 or something. I'd have to ask a coxdealer.com rep or somebody like that to tell me exactly. But I think they still spend 7 hours online to buy a car today. They know what their trade's worth. And if you hit them or lowball them too low, you may still make that deal. But now you got to fight all the way back to their number or close to it. And you lose all credibility. And then at the end of the day, now there's going to be that they're going to go out and dealer rate you and say, oh, no, you tried to steal my car. I made a deal. And you got a problem. Why go through all that? Just give them what the car's worth. And it's profit's not a dirty word. If you got a product that's worth them making money on it, prove it. Show it to them. That's all I do. I prove it to them. And we all got to make money. They got to understand. Now, guys will say, well, that's not possible. Yeah, it's not with some people. You're right. Some people don't want you to make no money. And I still make those deals, but that's usually the customer who complains the most is that one I had to fight with the whole time. The one where we make money and everybody's happy and they buy a bunch of cars for me and their family comes to me and all that. We made a decent, reasonable deal. Everybody's happy. We all understand that's how it works. So you got to look at how much you own that inventory for today. Really check to make sure that you're buying the cars that really sell in your area, which I know some guys go, how the fuck wouldn't you know that? Well, believe it or not, I see it every day where there's cars bought at different stores that take 150 days to sell. Well, I don't want a car that takes me 6 months to sell. I don't need that car. I just don't. I don't care. Unless you stole it and paid crazy money where you didn't, I'm going to make money. I need to take those in on trade. I want to not lose a deal like that on trade. I'm just going to make the deal because that's 2 deals. But I don't want to buy one. So just look at all that. Just take advantage of the tools you got today. And I just don't see it happening as well as it should be. And I think we're going to start to lean on AI so much that we're going to pass up the basics. So that's a problem to me.
Yeah, dealerships that still do. I mean, I'm fortunate to be part of a management team that they do it that way. That's why we do very well. We don't lean on AI. Actually, they're going to start slowly implementing AI. It's going to be like my part-time helper, but I'm going to dictate what it does. It's not going to dictate me.
Right.
That's the one rule I had when they decided to go down that road. It's to be a helper. I'm not going to depend on that for nothing. I'm going to take it by the horns, and it's going to do what I want it to do to help me in some areas. Maybe that, because after all, you're only human. So,
well, I got to say, when I started with Cox, which was 2014, I think, when they told me, I'd never really used vAuto before that or an appraising tool. I did for a very short period of time, and that was because I was buying a lot of cars from Tesla because they didn't keep their cars. So I would appraise like 500-700 cars a day, and I would use metrics, which was adjusted cost to market and like-mind day supply, those 2 metrics to figure out if I was paying, and I would give the quote the fastest because there's like only 10 guys bidding on them at that time. But anyhow, when they said to me, hey, John, we're going to use this tool to tell us what cars are worth, in my head, and I said it to a lot of people, I said, you're out of your fucking mind. There's no way that this tool knows more than me because I've sat in more cars than most people ever in their lives in a month than they have their whole life. But the truth is, I would have been completely wrong because everything today really has metrics that help you get much better at running your stores. So if you can read them and you know how to identify them, you make better decisions. And AI is going to be it's already in all these tools. They use it. I mean, I know vAuto used to update pricing like I'm not positive on this, but I think it was like every 4 hours or something. They got spiders, blah, 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 all kinds of shit. Way over my head. But now it's updated like every minute. If you're on profit time, their tool, that those prices are updated because cars today, here, we used to get a black book for cars. Every week it came out. It's a little book, 3x4, whatever, 2x4 book. If you had one, you were the coolest guy in the store, right? If you had a black book, you were somebody. The truck book came out once a month. NADA, the National Auto Dealer Association yellow book came out, I think once a month. Maybe it started to come out every week because that's how you get your loan. The loans were based on that value. But if you were carrying around a black book, you were somebody in the dealership. Today, cars change like stocks, like their commodities. So they could be daily. I can remember even when I was in the car business, an Altima, a guy bought 3-4 Altimas for me, and the next day they were worth $2,000 less because Hertz had dropped 4,600 of them at Manheim, Milwaukee the next day. So it just took that one or those 3 he bought, and all of a sudden I own them for too much because they're selling them for $9,700 when we paid $10,600 or whatever it was. So it just, everything works so fast today. The dealers just have to do what we do best, which is take care of the customer. We're really good at that. Keep doing it and use all the tools you got. Make sure you're reading all the metrics that it's giving you, and it's not just pressing buttons. We know what we're talking about, what it's saying. And I think everybody will be fine with all the AI stuff coming out. You still can't replace us. You can't replace a guy like me or a guy like you or a lot of guys I talk to. They're not replaceable. Everybody's replaceable. I'll take that back. Everybody's replaceable. I am. But when that guy's gone, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it. Even though you replaced them, he's replaceable, but not the same number, volume, gross, et cetera, et cetera. So,
yeah, that's how sales is. It's not, and I've said it before, it's not transactional. People like dealing with people, buy from people.
Yeah.
That's why I like to talk to, when I talk to people, you talk them to like a human being,
Mm-hmm.
You don't use cheesy lines or,
yeah.
You talk to people like people, even the difficult ones, just talk to them like a human being. And that goes a long way because a lot of time people get robotic and, cheesy lines or, anyway. So it's a human experience, sales is.
Yeah. Especially a car. It's like, it could be the biggest investment some people are going to make.
I've talked to people, they just were in a horrible car accident. They lost their car. They don't know they don't really know what to do. They need another car. They're not in the right frame of mind. And, it's an experience for them maybe they just lost a loved one. They have their car. They're like, I don't know what to do with this car. I want to sell it. It's a very emotional experience. It's not just like buying groceries. No, it's a very I have a new kid. I have another kid on the way. I need a bigger car, so I think that's what's going to set apart, also utilizing technology as a tool, but also being human, treating people humanely, I guess.
Yeah, I think what AI will do for us is get information that is not personal and not the actual deal itself, but get them the basic information faster than we can until we can get to them. If it gets that, it's getting harder and harder to get inventory. So volume is down. I forget I don't know what the total volume of sales was for 2025, but I think it was down a little bit. I hope that volume doesn't drop considerably across the board, but I definitely think it will with new because of affordability. And then the dealers got to make it up by getting those cars that fit into where these customers can actually make a payment on them. So, but that's about all I got today, Badge.
Yeah, no, this was definitely a great show, and we want to thank everybody for their continual support. You can go up to our website there, get all the information you need, download it on your favorite podcast platform. We do want to thank our sponsor, Zenzio AI. Check out that great tool to assist your dealership, and also got to thank Huck for all of their support as well. And we look forward to talking to you guys again next time.
All right, everybody. Have a great week.
See you
Talk
guys.
to you next week.
All right.
I bet.
Bye.